All right. I think some people are still coming in, but I'll just start us off here. Hi, everyone. My name is Caroline Fraisenet. I am the Director of Internships here at Dornsife Career Pathways. This is the first in our Employer Opportunity Series for fall 2021. So thank you for being here today. I'd love to introduce you to Ashley Beck, who's with Peace Corps, and she'll tell us a little bit more about what Peace Corps entails and a little bit about the program as well. So with that, welcome, Ashley.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Caroline. Yes, as she mentioned, I am the Peace Corps recruiter. My name is Ashley. And first of all, I just wanted to start off with a video that talks a little bit more about Peace Corps. It's just a 2-minute short little thing. So we'll watch that and get into it.
But what does the man who started the Peace Corps think about it now?
The willingness of all Americans, men and women, young and old, to serve in the Peace Corps, to serve in all parts of the world, to serve at little pay, jobs that have never done before, is one of the most encouraging manifestations of the American spirit this country has seen in many years. The Peace Corps gives us a chance to show a side of our country which is too often submerged. Our desire to live in peace, our desire to be of help.
Today, hope endures. In fact, it's as strong as it was when we started our journey in 1961, maybe even stronger. Every day, Peace Corps volunteers and all of us who support them wake up and spend the day working hard to make the world a better place. The larger causes we serve are the farmers in Panama, businesswomen in Albania, students in Rwanda, environmentalists in Jamaica, healthcare workers in South Africa. Our work is manifested in them and the thousands and thousands of others we'll never meet. It's a two-way street. Or, more accurately with Peace Corps, a two-way dirt road or footpath. And that volunteers venture to far-flung corners of the world and bring back to the United States after they serve more knowledge of, compassion for, an ability to ensure peace. They live it, promote it, and never stop sharing it. Peace is the first word of who we are. That our mission and goals haven't changed in nearly 60 years is rare, and so are we. The peace and freedom President Kennedy harnessed then continues now. That spirit still sparks our service. Who are we? We're the Peace Corps.
I hope this spirit will grow, that hundreds of others of young Americans and older Americans will go overseas to show our best side, to show how much we desire to live at peace. There can be no greater service to our country, and no source of pride more real than to be a member of the Peace Corps of the United States. I hope that you will join.
Awesome. So I'm going to pull up my slides. Can you see them? Please.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just want to confirm before I get started. Yeah, so like I mentioned, my name is Ashley. I am the regional recruiter for Peace Corps here at USC and in the Los Angeles area. My pronouns are she, her, and I also served as a Peace Corps volunteer. I served in Mongolia from 2014 to 2017 as an education volunteer, more specifically teaching English as a second language. I also worked on some pretty cool environmental projects, which were my secondary projects outside of my primary education focus. My alma maters are UC Irvine. In undergrad, I studied international studies. And then after the Peace Corps, I had a chance to go to graduate school at American University in DC, and I studied intercultural communications. So as you can see on the map, there's Mongolia. It's a big country right squeezed in between another two big countries, Russia and China. Fun fact, there are more horses in Mongolia than people. So I think they outnumber humans by 13. So 13 horses per one human in Mongolia is the standard. Also, Ulaanbaatar, the capital city of Mongolia, is actually the coldest capital city in the world, reaching temperatures anywhere from -20 Celsius to even -40 Celsius some winters. So it does get really cold out there. I'll talk a little bit more about that, being a Southern California native to living in Mongolia for 3 years. But as President Kennedy mentioned, you know, the Peace Corps was formed in 1961, and its main goal is to promote world peace and friendship. So I know this sounds very idealistic, lofty, great goals, or a great mission. And to do and support that mission, we do have 3 goals. The first is to provide trained men and women, so volunteers, to countries and communities that ask specifically for our presence. Second and third are more cross-cultural related exchange goals where we share about the culture of the US, the beautiful diversity of the US to the people that we live and work with in those countries. And then of course, coming home and sharing about their local cultures and those people and bringing it back to the US and sharing it with our friends and family and community members here. So to be a Peace Corps volunteer, you must be a US citizen and at least 18 years old. That being said, it is a competitive process, so most applicants have a 4-year degree or at least 5 years of professional work experience. And you can also see 90% of volunteers would also recommend service. I'm one of those people. We have a great range of volunteers in terms of age. I think most people think Peace Corps is, you know, cut out for maybe younger, fresh college graduates. That's not the case. There's no upper age limit. So you can constantly see people who are mid-career or even have retired and are looking to give back or to be a part of this service. Most notably, Jimmy Carter's mother was a Peace Corps volunteer in India in the 60s, in her 80s, I believe. And these are the program area sectors that Peace Corps volunteers work in. So there's the education sector. As an education volunteer myself, I would say this is the largest sector in terms of the types of qualifications and requirements needed. It's very general. So you could have majored in anything in college. However, you know, it does help to have some experience in teaching or working with youth in some capacity. Within the education sector, there's also jobs correlated to teaching math, science, as well as literacy specialists. So it's not just English as well. Other sectors include youth and development, which is working with youth ages 15 to 35 in a variety of capacities in those communities, usually focusing on really high needs projects or campaigns that are affecting the issues of that community. Agriculture volunteers also work really closely with farmers and crop yields and dealing with how to sustainably teach and train those farmers to maintain the type of quantity and yield they want in their areas. Environment volunteers work really closely with climate change initiatives, as well as, again, working in a sustainable manner. I would say all of our projects are sustainable in the sense that we are not just imparting our knowledge, but bringing those community members that education and experience in order to continue that knowledge imparted even after we've left. Health sector volunteers work mostly, it's like health promotion. It's no inpatient care type services. It's more promoting hand washing projects or malaria awareness, things like that, that are of course going to be detailed to the kind of issues that community in particular is facing. And lastly, our community economic development sector pertains to mostly volunteers working with non-governmental organizations, as well as local women's groups and small businesses to help entrepreneurship, as well as financing, accounting, and helping these people to scale their businesses as well. Secondary projects are projects that volunteers can work on that is outside their primary sector. These, of course, can match your special interests and talents and any skill set you may have, as well as really you're assessing what your community wants and needs from you and working together to come up with that sustainable solution. And an example of one of my projects that I did was an environmental camp. English camp for my students. I worked really closely with my English teacher counterpart to come up with this camp because students in my rural region, I was in a rural village in Eastern Mongolia, did not have access to these sort of resources over the summer. And we decided to create this camp for the 5th and 8th graders, as well as other students in the area in those other neighboring villages. We identified this need and collaborated with other community members, as well as town members and even the town mayor. The resources for volunteers, I would say, is pretty scarce. So I feel like volunteers are super resourceful in coming up with the things that they need for certain projects. I would say I learned a lot of grant writing unexpectedly in the Peace Corps. I didn't think that was a skill I would necessarily pick up or learn, as well as how to do project management, scaling a project from the start to the finish. And Peace Corps volunteers work in a very grassroots environment, so you'll readily see these sort of hard skills come into play. One of my secondary projects was an eco club that we created for our village. As I mentioned, my village was in Eastern Mongolia, right above the Gobi Desert in the south. So due to climate change, a lot of wind was bringing in unnecessary sand and dirt and kind of wiping away the natural green scenery of our village, as you can see. So increasingly villagers, community members, and even I during my short time there was seeing this horrific change happening, and they wanted to really come up with something to combat this issue. And so we decided by forming an eco club, we can not only raise awareness, but create projects that could directly combat this issue. So we did tree planting initiatives, as well as trash pickups, and we incorporated this to be something that would happen at least quarterly. And from my understanding, it is still happening now. So again, that sustainable component is really important for Peace Corps volunteers. All right, so this is a photo of my dwelling during the Peace Corps. I lived in a ger, which in Mongolian literally translates to home. But in Western terminology, we can call it a yurt. Not all volunteers, I want to preface this, did not live in a yurt in Mongolia. Some volunteers lived in houses, or if you're in a larger, maybe provincial capital or larger town, even in like Soviet era style apartments is where they lived. So it will look different based on your site, even within country, as well as, of course, what region of the world you're in. Mongolia is known for their nomadic lifestyle. I think they still live pretty much the same way their ancestors did thousands and thousands of years ago, as you could see. So this is one of the ways of like their traditional living styles. It's a really easy way to move around quickly. Believe it or not, it only takes about an hour to set up this home. And then the inside, as you can see, I did have electricity, so it was a bit, a little bit glamorous, so to speak, compared to the normal yurts in the village or the countryside. And in the middle, I had a stove to keep myself warm in the winters. So I always just like to share what it looked like for me. In the top right corner, I also had a home right next to me. So that was actually another teacher at my school's home, and her family lived there, and we shared a compound. So I didn't feel totally alone, or always felt safe having them or having the family next to me. All right, these are the countries that Peace Corps works with, over 65 countries around the world. And you can see most of them are on the African continent. For the countries in Latin America and South America, there is usually a language requirement for those positions. And then also in some countries in Western Africa and South Africa, there's Romance language requirements. So if you know French or Portuguese, it's really helpful in obtaining those sort of opportunities in those positions. The rest of the countries around the world do not have a language requirement, and volunteers are actually given a 3-month pre-service training where they're learning the language the whole time, as well as learning how to do their technical skills on the job, cultural training, safety and security training. And within these 3 months, that's actually included in that 27-month long commitment. So that's why we say 27 months. The first 3 months is pre-service training, and then you are at your site living and working alongside your community for 2 years. All right, so some benefits included during service. So Peace Corps volunteer is a volunteer position first and foremost. However, Peace Corps does offer many benefits for volunteers during their service, including a basic living stipend, which is equivalent to the amount of income the person, the local doing your job would make. So in my case, it was the local English teacher. I was making the same amount as her, which was only about $300 USD, but it did go a long way in terms of being totally enough for everything I needed: groceries, toiletries, personal needs. Housing is covered by Peace Corps, so no rent money is kind of taken out of that living stipend. It's 100% covered, and as well as medical and dental coverage and mental health coverage. You also have 24 days of vacation per year, so that's ample time, than most, I think, corporate America jobs. I get that question a lot: because you're a volunteer, do you get weekends off? Yes, you do have your weekends off as much as any other volunteer, and then you also get that vacation time, and then also any holidays that the country may celebrate will be sort of your time off too. All right, and then Peace Corps does put the safety and security of volunteers as their utmost priority. So there are actual medical officers in country that are specifically designated for Peace Corps volunteers and available 24/7. Furthermore, the local security officers are the officers that scout the sites. They also teach volunteers safety and mitigation measures. And I do want to point out that the communities that host the volunteers are very highly vetted. They have to go through a pretty rigorous process of applying and then having their site approved, and making sure it's really a site that, first of all, the organization has the correct work and alignment of the Peace Corps volunteer, and then of course that it's a safe and welcoming environment for that volunteer. And then also the Peace Corps is a US government organization, so it's always good to know that you're kind of under the umbrella and jurisdiction of that, and you have the safety and kind of background of that in your pocket while you're volunteering. All right, so some benefits after service. You get approximately $10,000 in transition funds. So this money is used for readjusting back into the US, transitioning back. Most people get reverse culture shock. Some people do graduate school, others go on to careers, and it'll look very different, but Peace Corps really has this sort of chunk of money to help you through whatever process you're going through. There's also a lot of professional networking opportunities for returned volunteers. There's over 250,000 returned volunteers here in the US working in a variety of sectors, so it's always great. I think employers actually seek out and want to hire those with this experience because it shows employers that you have those not just hard skills, but soft skills. You're resilient, flexible, and super adaptable, and can work in any kind of cultural setting. Peace Corps furthermore provides career services for returned volunteers to kind of get you, help you get started in doing the career search, hosting networking events, as well as career fairs for returned volunteers to get them connected with employers. There's also a really cool benefit called the Coverdell Fellowship Program, which is a program that Peace Corps partners with over 100 universities in the US with their graduate programs. And as a returned Peace Corps volunteer, being someone who has successfully completed their service, has the opportunity to apply to one of these graduate programs if they wish, and if accepted, will receive a minimum of 25% off their tuition up to a full ride depending on the program. So it's a really cool opportunity for those interested in pursuing a higher degree, and a really, monetarily great one if you want to get that master's, doctorate, or PhD. That benefit I also like to include is not time bound. It's a lifetime eligibility, so you don't have to feel rushed, like, do I have to do it right after I'm done with my service? Not the case. You can go back to school in 10, 15 years if that's what you wish. One benefit that is time bound is the federal employment advantage being a Peace Corps, returned Peace Corps volunteer. So up to 1 year of returning after your service, returned Peace Corps volunteers get what is called NCE, or non-competitive eligibility. And this allows you to apply for government positions that has this criteria. And basically your resume is kind of put at the top of the stack, and you're not competing against the general public for this position. Great. This is what the application process looks like in a nutshell. I would definitely recommend you to check out our website. There's so much information on there, as well as connect with your local recruiter. In your case, that is me. I'm more than happy to chat one-on-one to see and answer any questions, and just to see if this is an opportunity that you can maybe see down the road for yourself. Our application is done all online, and applicants create an applicant portal. 3 things that you would have to prepare in order to have your application complete is your resume, motivation statement, and 3 references and just their contact information. Then you would go through to the health history form, and then the interview. After the interview, you would receive an invitation to serve. And I would say that's about the halfway point. After that, it's a lot of basically HR. So legal clearances, medical checks, a lot of onboarding documentation, and then finally you will depart to your country. So all in all, the application process does take anywhere from 8 to 9 months. And nowadays, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it has slowed down. However, we are still assessing the situation in each country individually and seeing when and how it will be safe enough to return back into those countries. So we are still accepting applications on a rolling basis, meaning there are no deadlines now, and still reviewing them on a continual basis. All right, so the Peace Corps Volunteer Program is really the program I was talking about, that standard 2-year program. There's also the Peace Corps Response, which is more shorter, high impact projects reserved mostly for return volunteers that have experience working in the field or highly experienced professionals with a specialized skill set. Just want to share that so you know that there is more than one program out there. And I know joining the Peace Corps may seem like something that's definitely outside the box, something that maybe not many people think about after graduating from undergrad. You know, the traditional path is to usually get a job in your field. However, I think there's so many great opportunities and things to learn from being a Peace Corps volunteer. You know, out of these bullet points, I like to say the last one, helping others and making a lasting change, is my favorite. But of course, there's also these great benefits during service as well as after service. Okay. And these are just some pictures from my service that I like to share out. Like I mentioned, being a Peace Corps volunteer is not only about imparting knowledge and your skills to the community, but also learning about their culture and their know-hows. And then, of course, doing that exchange component and sharing about American culture and who we are. So my top right corner is the 2nd annual Halloween that we did at our school. The second year was definitely a greater turnout, and I think had way more interest than the first year. And it was really fun for me as well as the students and teachers to be involved in an American holiday. Bottom right corner is me with my host family. So during our pre-service training of that first 3 months, like I mentioned, you do get to live with a host family, which really helps you to assimilate to the culture and kind of pick up the language a bit quicker. The middle picture is me with my Hasha sister. Again, that Hasha is that compound that I lived in, and she was one of the kids of that family. And we are wearing the traditional Mongolian dress, which is called a del, and it keeps you very, very warm in the winters. Bottom left is me with some friends in the community. I hosted a Christmas dinner because Christmas isn't a holiday celebrated there. So again, I wanted to share that holiday and invite them and present my hospitality. Top left is me with some of my students doing a spelling bee. For me, I think the education sector was really exciting and teaching English was exciting because I got to show students how important and how great this language is for their own personal advancement. Whether they like English or not, it's here to stay, right? So I think I really wanted to show them how much further they can get just by acquiring this language. And in Mongolia, I would say the basic learning method or skills was just lecture based or textbook based. So as a volunteer, as an English teacher, I wanted to bring that fun classroom activities, fun excitement, competitions and games into making learning English fun. So this was just an example of one of the competitions we did, which was a spelling bee. We had the certificates, we had the award ceremony, the whole thing. And I think that just elevated learning English. And then the last photo on the bottom or middle left is me with some of my volunteer friends. My cohort was pretty big. We were about 90 people. And so it was really great to just also have that support of other Americans all going in and doing this great work, but also knowing that we're all doing it for the first time. So really great support system as well as the staff in country. And here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me. You could also scan that QR code and that'll lead you to an event check-in site. So you could plug in your info and they'll keep you connected with me if you're interested in connecting later down the line as well. Thanks for listening, everyone. I think we can take questions now, right, Caroline?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody has any questions, you can put them in the Q&A and I'll read them to Ashley and then she'll be happy to answer them. But thank you so much, Ashley, for doing that. I'll start us off. You know, we have a lot of people from different class years and in different levels here at USC. Is there any kind of activities or different classes you'd recommend to people to take as they prepare for perhaps applying for the Peace Corps? What do you find helpful here?
Yeah, that's great. Definitely, I'm not too familiar with classes because, you know, of course, with your major and things like that, you'll have to take certain classes, but definitely being involved on campus in certain clubs, whether it be community service related or anything where you're really, you know, learning another skill, especially the skill of teaching and being able to be in front of a group of people and sharing what you know, I think is really important to every position in the Peace Corps, because no matter what, that will be kind of an iteration of your job. So definitely, you know, whether it be on campus or off campus, gaining that hard skill is really important, as well as if you have any opportunities to volunteer, that also looks really great. And then if you are really interested and are looking at certain sectors, I can definitely, you know, connect one-on-one and give you more specific advice about each sector because it will kind of look different.
Sure, that makes sense. Thank you. Question from Jake, as an undergraduate freshman, so a little bit more specific population here. How can I get involved early to prepare for the application process after my senior year?
Sure, yeah. So continue to come out to Peace Corps. You mean like for Peace Corps, right? Like
yes, yeah.
Yeah, just to want to make sure. Yeah, so continue to come out to Peace Corps events. There's always different events that touch upon, you know, different topics. This is just a general info session, but we have things ranging from like self-care and service or focusing on certain regions or sectors that we do. And hearing a lot about other returned Peace Corps volunteer stories, I think will really help shape maybe what you want out of it or your understanding of Peace Corps too. But yeah, as an undergraduate or as a freshman more specifically, I think there's lots of opportunities for you to sort of tailor your resume towards becoming a Peace Corps volunteer. So again, getting that community service sort of experiences, putting yourself out there and working in different environments that are kind of outside your comfort zone, because that's exactly what volunteers do, will be really helpful in bolstering your experiences.
Great, thank you so much. Another question here, how has joining the Peace Corps helped you in jumpstarting the career you have now?
Yeah, great. So now I work for the Peace Corps, so it really has come full circle. It definitely helped me to gain some skills that I don't think I would have gotten otherwise, including, you know, hard and soft. So I'll start with soft skills, that resilience component, that ability to be flexible and adaptable. And then with hard skills, learning how to be a project manager, how to pivot in certain management positions, as well as grant writing opportunities, and really learning how to network as well in a language I don't know. So now I could do it in English, right? So yeah, I think it really helped jumpstart my career, because during the Peace Corps, when I joined, I didn't think I would go to grad school. That wasn't something I had even thought about. But being a Peace Corps volunteer, it really made me think, wow, I really want to study, the theories and practices behind interculturalism and the communication behind that. And I think that stemmed from my service, and it then in effect, motivated me to go to graduate school. And then after that, I saw this opening for the recruiter position in the Peace Corps, and I thought, wow, that's perfect. So it has been kind of all Peace Corps my whole life, I guess, after undergrad. I did not plan it that way, but so far that's how it's been for me.
Great. A little bit, you touched on parts of this, but what made you initially want to join the Peace Corps?
Sure, yeah. So I found out about Peace Corps as a 7th grader in social studies class. My teacher had actually brought in a Peace Corps volunteer who was serving in Kenya. And we actually started a pen pal program with her students and with us. So that was really cool for me as a 7th grader. I was like writing to a friend across the world. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. This is definitely something I want to be a part of down the line. And then fast forward to undergraduate, I was kind of scrambling, and as a senior looking for opportunities and seeing what I should be, what opportunities that were interesting. And I thought about Peace Corps again. I kind of came back to it. And so I applied. And for me, I was also looking for opportunities sort of outside the box. I definitely didn't want to confine myself to that 9-to-5 career initially just yet. As a, I guess, newly graduated college student, I still had that urge to kind of go explore, be of service, and have that really life experience. So that's really what made me apply.
Wow, since 7th grade. Wow, that's quite a journey, and now you're here. The next question is, how did you communicate and stay in touch with your family and friends in the US, if at all?
Yeah, great question. I think I remember back in the day in Mongolia, like in the 90s when that post opened, they were using telegrams, those volunteers. So as a volunteer myself, I had like my smartphone, I had a SIM card that I got in country. So I had access to internet in my yurt, in my village. So even though I was pretty off grid, I still did have Wi-Fi, which was really, really helpful in communicating with friends and family back home. I also got sent, snail mail from friends and family back home and care packages. I think a lot of volunteers also used like social media to just update, like because of the time difference, they couldn't always maybe talk to their friends and family, so they would just update about their lives, and that's kind of how their friends and family would know what they were up to.
Wow. Well, that sounds doable. A little bit easier than telegrams for sure.
Yeah.
The next question is, are there any small opportunities to volunteer within the US, or is everything abroad?
Yeah, everything is abroad with Peace Corps. There is, so there has been Peace Corps response projects that have deployed domestically only twice in history. One was Hurricane Katrina, and the other was recently with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Assistance Program, with COVID-19 awareness building. So not really, but those are the two I can think of. For domestic opportunities, there is a program called AmeriCorps, which is similar to Peace Corps. It is a different organization, but they work with underserved populations in usually rural areas or underserved communities in the US, and building and doing a lot of their own projects. So I know a lot of people and volunteers that started off as AmeriCorps volunteers, and then, they're like, okay, now I want to do Peace Corps, take this one step further, go abroad and do this for that 2-year, 27 or that 27-month commitment. Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you so much. We have a question here. As an undergraduate senior with 1.5 years, 3 semesters left, what would you recommend applying to within the organization?
Yeah, so I would say apply earlier rather than later. And again, there's no deadline, so that's actually a really great, I think, bonus for people now. They don't have to scramble to meet a certain apply by date. And that application process will take about 9 months to a year. So thinking with that in mind, just think like 9 months out from now where you would be at. Applying now will definitely help you to get closer to that to that departure date than applying later. I'm more than happy to also talk to you about how it would fit in your timeline specifically too.
Great, thank you so much. And you can find Ashley's contact information was on the previous slide, so that way you can talk to her. Next question is, being someone who has type 1 diabetes, is it possible to manage a medical condition while serving abroad?
Yeah, great question. So there is that health history form that every applicant turns in before their or with their application, and that helps us to assess, you know, what potential areas can you be placed in or not. Say you have a peanut allergy, you're definitely not going to Thailand or something like that, right? So that kind of is like a precursor to let us know what sort of medical conditions you may have. But after that, they will work with the medical team and with the placement team to make sure the area you are placed in has the sort of medical resources or medication available or whatever it may be to make sure your condition is able to be, you know, kept up with during your service.
Great, thank you so much. It looks like we're all caught up with the questions. So I just wanted to thank you again, Ashley, for your time. And I also wanted to let everyone know we're actually going to be having a series of coffee chats with Ashley. So if you want to talk to her one-on-one, we do offer those. It's going to be on October 15th. So just shy of a month from now. And I'll put the link to sign up for that in the chat. You can sign up on Dornsife Compass for those 15-minute appointments to just talk to Ashley if you have any questions after today. But thank you so much. Let me put that in the chat right now. And then I hope everyone enjoys their day. And thank you again, Ashley, for your time. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who came out and listened to me talk about the Peace Corps. And again, I put my email in the chat, so if any of y'all are interested in reaching out or setting up a one-on-one, more than happy to connect.
Great, thank you so much. And I just put the link for the coffee chats if anybody wants to sign up. We'll also absolutely be sending out a lot more communication about that. But because you've already expressed a little bit of interest in the Peace Corps, I just wanted to make sure that you got that today before you left. But with that said, thank you everyone for coming out to our first event. Thank you again, Ashley. And I hope everyone has a great day.
Thanks, Caroline. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.